Hello and welcome to the DSR Daily, in which we look at what's going on around the world, try to do it for you in 10 or 15 minutes, and give you a little bit of insight you might not get someplace else. I'm David Rothkopf, and I'm joined by Minna Stein. Hi, Minna.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Our friend Riley is on a secret mission, so he's not with us today. So Minna's going to hand out the stories. So let's start.
All right. Hezbollah confirmed the death of Hashem Safiaddin, a top official and the Hezbollah leader's likely successor, following an Israeli airstrike on a Hezbollah intelligence headquarters in Beirut. The strike also killed several other Hezbollah members, including the commander of the intelligence hub. Israeli military officials stated that the attack targeted a significant Hezbollah stronghold and indicated that their offensive in Lebanon has escalated, resulting in substantial casualties among the group's leadership. This news coincides with ongoing diplomatic efforts by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who is in Israel advocating for a ceasefire in both Lebanon and Gaza.
This reminds me a bit of the war on terror, as it was known, and, being the number two person in Al Qaeda was the worst job in the world because the United States on a regular basis would kill the number two person in Al Qaeda to get rid of the succession struggle. It's clearly what's going on here with the Israelis. You don't want to be on the succession chart of Hezbollah or presumably Hamas. I don't mean to make light of it, but I do think that regardless of how we feel about the way the war is being conducted with its effect on civilians, and, if you're a regular listener, we're deeply disturbed, disapproving of that, and think it must end immediately. The wars against Hezbollah and Hamas are self-invited, and we're not going to lament the passing of these people because these are terrorist organizations. What's next?
Nearly 25 million votes have already been cast as Harris and Trump campaign in battleground states. At a CNN town hall in Pennsylvania, Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris emphasized that her administration would differ from President Biden's, addressing concerns among voters eager for change ahead of the November 5th election. Meanwhile, Trump campaigned in Georgia, highlighting record early voting turnout and rallying support from Christian evangelicals. As both candidates focus on key battleground states like Pennsylvania and Georgia, Harris leads Trump slightly in national polls while continuing to challenge him on issues of democracy and governance.
Yeah. She had a couple good lines in her CNN town hall last night, one of which was when she said he's going to make an enemies list. I'm going to have a to-do list, which I think framed this pretty well. Also, when asked, is he a fascist? She said, do you think he's a fascist? She said, I do. She didn't mince words about it. I think that was good. It was direct, and it's true. And it's the central issue here. And we can talk about a lot of other things, but when you say, well, what do you think of Trump's economic policies? You're actually diverting attention from the real thing. You're helping Trump. You're normalizing Trump by saying he's a president about his policies, even though he lies, even though he never gets anything done, but especially because he's a fascist. He wants to be a dictator from day one. He admires Hitler. He admires Putin. He admires totalitarian leaders. He wants to put his enemies in jail. He wants to deport immigrants. He calls them vermin, as Hitler did. And he's not backing off. He's doubling down on fascism. She's doubling down on serving the American people. To me, it shouldn't be close. A lot of people tell me it's close. Somebody came up to me yesterday and said, well, an insider told me it's going to come down to 5,000 to 7,000 votes. My view, maybe they're saying that. Maybe it's true. Maybe they're saying that because they want to make sure everybody turns out. But I've got to believe that if pollsters have gotten past elections wrong, they're getting this one wrong even more. Why? Because a lot of lower propensity voters from the past are showing up, young people, for example. Why? Because 20% of Republicans are probably voting for Kamala Harris. and they don't expect that kind of crossover in the past. Also, Republicans did not vote early in the past. They are voting a little earlier now. That's an anomaly compared to their past models. So I don't put much stock in the models. I don't put much stock in the Nate Silvers and the others who are working for right-wing groups. I saw Mark Penn, who once was a credible pollster, but not for the past 20 years. Oh, well, Trump's got the momentum. Complete bullshit. He's a sellout. He's corrupt. He's broken emotionally because Hillary ditched him and he went over to the dark side. There are all these, sort of betting markets, complete BS, although I know you have your life savings in them, but they're complete BS, and they are, supported for the most part by right wingers. There are all these fake right-leaning polls, 60, 70 of them that have been dumped and are affecting the national averages. I don't think anybody should be complacent. I think everybody who can vote should vote. And if you can vote now, vote now. And if you can help a friend, help a friend. And if you can go and volunteer, go and volunteer. And if you can donate, donate. You do whatever you can. We're in the home stretch here. But having said all of that, I think Kamala Harris is going to win by more than people expect. Does that make you feel better this morning?
It makes me feel a little bit better, yeah.
Okay. Good.
I like that you're confident. Makes me feel confident.
Good. Well, all right. And I hope that's having that effect on all of you out there, too. What's next?
Kyiv's foreign ministry announced that Moscow failed to gain support for its invasion of Ukraine during the BRICS summit, where leaders from China and Brazil urged de-escalation and peace negotiations. Chinese President Xi Jinping emphasized the need to avoid further conflict, while the Indian Prime Minister advocated for dialogue. Ukrainian authorities ordered the evacuation of children from frontline areas as Russia advances continue, and the U.S. is seeking to provide $10 billion in military aid to Ukraine, part of a larger financial commitment. Additionally, Romania scrambled fighter jets after detecting drones breaching its airspace, marking a concerning trend of incursions related to the ongoing conflict.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting that, Russia is like China's our best friend, and Russia tries to pretend that they're equal partners. They're not equal partners. China's the head partner, and China said, it's time to end this thing. It's time to wrap this thing up. Will they pressure them? Don't know. But the message sent is not one of real unity among, the inner circle of Russia's allies. And I think that's telling. And that's why I will make another prediction here. You've showed up today. You want predictions. I predict that the U.S. and China will ultimately not only push Kyiv and Russia towards the negotiating table within the next 2 years, hopefully after some successes by Ukraine to give them some negotiating advantage. But I think the U.S. and China will be involved in the talks. I would guess it will be a four-way talk.
A study published recently found a significant increase in infant mortality rates following the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade, with some months seeing up to a 7% rise compared to pre-Dobbs levels. The researchers noted that the highest increase occurred among infants with congenital abnormalities, suggesting more pregnancies with severe fetal conditions were carried to term. Experts highlight that the ruling has led to healthcare challenges, particularly for marginalized populations who may struggle to access necessary services. Overall, the findings raise serious concerns about the implications for maternal and child health in the United States.
Look, is there anything about the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade that's good? Nothing. Except the degree to which it revealed that the people got on the court by lying, and they're liars. They're corrupt partisan hacks on the right. But the consequences of it are ghastly. Women bleeding out in parking lots, women being forced to travel across the country to get health care, doctors afraid to perform the kind of health care that's necessary to sustain human life that they swore to do. prosecutions that should never take place, fear that should not be part of daily life, and now this. There's nothing good about it. And I'll make another election prediction. My election prediction is that the post Roe v. Wade boost that the Democrats have gotten beginning in 2022, or actually a little before that, will continue.
I think it's a good prediction. I tend to agree.
There is already some, anecdotal reporting of people, waiting in line. Why are they there? And old Republican women, little old ladies who are Republicans, saying no, not this time.
Yeah, I saw an article about that. There's a lot to be hopeful about. There's a lot to keep us hopeful.
Yeah. And, that's good because there's also a lot to keep us up at night, and we might as well be hopeful if we're being kept up at night. You got anything else for us?
That's it.
No, that's it for the day. Well, there you go, folks. That's our way to help you start your day in less than 12 minutes. We hope you have a productive day. We'll be around. We have a great couple of podcasts coming your way today, including me joining Norm Ornstein on Words Matter. So that'll be a real insider fest. Norm is the smartest guy there is. And then an interesting podcast with a couple of Republicans who've switched over to support for Kamala Harris, and a conversation with a woman who is on the ground canvassing in Georgia, giving her perspectives on what she's finding. So join us for all of that. And also you can find Minna and I here tomorrow. Nature, greater forces, Mother Nature willing. Anyway, talk to you soon, Minna.